Hello everybody. I'm going to talk about the GLPI project. Just a quick question. Who knows who have already heard about the GLPI project? Okay. May I have my slides? Okay, perfect. So just a quick word about me. I joined the GLPI community in 2006 and became an official developer in 2007. And I'm also one of the founder of the Fusion Inventory project, which is the inventory agent that we use with GLPI to get the inventory. And at Teclib, I'm the GLPI product manager. I would say product manager because we are a team and we take the decision together. It's not only about me. So what is GLPI? It's an open source project aiming at first doing asset management. So the idea with GLPI is that in one tool you have all the asset of your company and you try to see to have all data needed to know exactly what kind of asset you need to renew, when your license are not going to be, the warranty of your asset is going to be to expire, these kind of things. We do local inventory using agent of other projects like Fusion Inventory or OCS Inventory. We also do network discovery, remote inventory, for example, for switches, printers, or other devices that are on the network. And we also do software deployment. The idea with this solution is to be portable, meaning that we have agents for Windows platforms, Linux, IX, Mac OS X, Solaris, HP UX, VMware, Windows Mobile, and Android. The idea behind this is to inventory everything on the network. It's like big work. It never ends, but it's the goal that we try to achieve. The other big feature is the IT service desk. We try to follow IT best practices by providing incident and request management, problem and change management. We also have a knowledge base. And there are some other interesting features like a plugin API, so you can write your own plugin to, for example, connect with another solution or to enhance or change the behavior of the core of the product. And we also introduced 2 years ago a REST API, so you can directly interact with GLPI using this API. What is the audience of the project? Well, in fact, everybody. Might be a small association with 5 PC to a large company with 100,000 PC. Might be a public sector, private sector. There's no specific target audience. The technology, it's PHP, MySQL. Now it's PHP MariaDB because we are more fan of MariaDB than MySQL. But these choices have been made. I will just explain on that 13 years ago, and for the moment, these choices are already in place. What kind of tool do we use? Well, we use GitHub. We use Atom for the unit testing. We use Composer. Well, in fact, we use all standard PHP tools for developing. We use Transifex for translation and Redotox for documentation. We also have several ways to interact with users and developers. Well, the first is IRC channel, of course. We use OW2 mailing list. And for idea box and suggestion, we use the user echo, which is quite interesting to interact with the user before they open a ticket on GitHub. We use Telegram a lot. We have several channels in several languages. We also aggregate data coming from our different tools. And of course, Facebook and Twitter. So the project started in 2003. It was led by an association during 13 years until 2015. During this period, the association did a wonderful job. They started from nothing and they built a community, and the project became successful and is now used everywhere around the globe. But after 13 years, the developers, they were exhausted and they wanted to do something else. So after some discussions, Teclib, we took the lead on the project, meaning that there is always the community. We always develop the project the same way, but we hire some people to work full-time on the project. And we also the company in charge of the roadmap of the project. So it was like a big change. We have to explain to all people who were afraid that we were that the project won't be open source anymore. We said no, it's not going to change. It's always it will always be open source. We are also going to add more and more people to work on the project, so we can change what needs to be changed. And in 2017, we are version 9.1, and we are about to release 9.2 in September. At Teclib, the team is 10 people in France and Spain, and the community is based on various kind of people, integrators who are doing projects for their customers, freelance, individuals, some companies that are users and have their own developers, and they contribute to what is important for them. And of course, translators, as the project is translated in like 45 different languages on Transiflex. Well, the challenges, this is what become interesting. The project has started in 2003, so before all frameworks and this kind of thing. So there is a specific framework inside the project. And for some part of the project, people who had written this part of the project are gone. They are not on the project anymore. So sometimes it happens that we have lost the knowledge. We have some specs, but sometimes specs are quite light, and there is no unit test. So we have to rewrite progressively the project, which is quite a big task because you have a 13 years old project with no test, and well, you can say I'm going to rewrite from scratch, and what will become of the community, or you want to make some changes, incremental changes. So we decided to go this way, incremental changes, and we always have to do the balance between adding a new feature, because if you ask, you tell your users, okay, we are not going to add any feature during 2 years, I think they're going to switch to another product. But at the same time, when we add new features, we always have to rewrite some part of the core of the product, add the test. So it's quite a big work, and we have to balance, to make the balance. And writing the test for a 13 years old project that was not intended to be tested is also quite a challenge. On the community side, we're going to introduce soon a new website, and we have a lot of users, and they did a great work. They wrote books. They do a lot of things. They do a lot of things, but as we don't speak their language, it's sometimes hard to be in touch with this community. For example, one of our biggest community after French-speaking people is Brazilians. It's huge in Brazil, but we don't have we have only few contact with them. So we have to talk to the guys who speak English, and they can introduce you to us to the other developers, and we can discuss with them how we can get their code, integrate their code, or integrate the idea they had. So it's very interesting work, but it's also time-consuming. The contribution workflow, by switching to GitHub and Git, it's now much more easier for us to integrate contributions coming from contributors. So now for pull request, the unit tests are becoming mandatory. But the problem is that, for example, if someone does a pull request on just one part of the ticket features, we are not going to ask him to do the unit test for the whole feature. So we first have to write Teclib on our own, write the unit test for the main features to be able to ask the contributors then to write their unit test, which is also big work. We also need more reviewers, meaning that we have to hire more people and train these people so they get the knowledge, functional knowledge of the product. And we also have to write the documentation. We did a good job last year to update and rewrite the developer documentation. And all that is to attract new contributors. We have contributors, but we need more contributors. But to do that, we have to show that we are willing to rewrite things to professionalize the project. So that's why it's going to take months, but it's worth we really need it. It's worth it. And the product, well, the main issue for me is the user documentation. The user documentation for the moment is bad, really bad, and mainly in French. So we have to update the French documentation, translate it into English, and then English is going to be the master language, and translation can be done. We also have to rewrite the user interface in JavaScript, and we are going to introduce, I think next year, the support for PostgreSQL and more databases. But at the same time, we're working on other projects that integrate with GLPI. The first is called FlyNDM. It's a mobile device management solution. So it's built on top of GLPI. It uses MQTT for data exchange between the mobile devices and GLPI. It's also open source on GitHub, and it's for Android and iOS. So we use GLPI, we use the core of the application, but we have written a new interface that is, for us, a basis for the new interface we want for GLPI. And the second project, for maybe next year, is Armadillo. It's an open source antivirus for Linux and Windows with WinTab protection, and it uses two engines, Clamav and Yara, for signatures, and the console for managing antiviruses is GLPI. So that's why for us it's very important to rewrite GLPI and make it a modern application, because in our strategy we want to add more product based on GLPI, on top of GLPI. So the code is open source, and you can find it at GitHub also. So in fact, we need more contributors, we need more people to help us working on the project. Thank you.